Hi, my name is Ingtie and I'm from The Afternaut, an experienced design agency with a strong focus on commercial spatial design. These days, we've been focusing a lot on exploring the topic of placemaking and uncovering hidden narratives in communities within unexpected neighbourhoods in Singapore. This includes neighbourhoods like Geylang, which has a reputation for being a red light district but is also home to a multitude of different characters, families, expats, and regular people from all walks of life. Today, we've invited our friend Curve, who spent the bulk of his life in Geylang, to share more about his thoughts on the neighbourhood.
So can you maybe just tell me about yourself and what you do currently?
So my name is Curve. I'm actually running a project management company. On top of your traditional building, we do interior, but we do a lot of major artwork installation, and also we call special projects. We will go into a bit of teaming work. Teaming works. It's a bit like artisan work with workers, and the treatment is different.
Right, so you need more like specialized skill sets.
Yeah, you need to understand the different trades. And sometimes we have to guide contractors with their skill set to do something out of their normal things.
Right.
So our bread and butter is more in built environment, but our passion lies in all the special things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fun. Like stuff like USS and everything.
Right. Yeah. Good.
Then if you can share maybe what's your connection with Geylang then?
Oh, so actually when I was young, my parents is one of the first wave of small entrepreneur in Singapore, where 50 years ago, Singapore focused on the low value, or then it's called normal value lah. Of course, now we call it low value. So it's in the production of shoe material parts, like the shoe heels that we wear, and who's going to cut the shape of the template of the sole. So my parents is actually running a shop that supplies all this material to so-called the shoe factories.
Right.
So back then, the shop was in Geylang, and Geylang was more like it's close to 100 over years since the British times. There's some remnants of it. So it's like one of the main small business district.
Right.
So that's how I grew up in Geylang. And of course, when you're young, you study where your parent works, so they take care of you.
Yeah, it's more convenient. I mean, I think last time public transport not very developed, right?
I think in the early days, every parent is a bit more protective. Yeah, it's not like now we are much safer.
Yeah.
Because they just exceeded the independence.
Right.
Because I'm very old already by now, 50 years old this year. So when I was young, so-called they say that 治安 not so good.
Right.
Of course, right now everything is more predictable. I have my neighbors, like people who do printing, the traditional press printing. I have people who fake, last time we still use cassettes, right? Before CD, there's actually cassettes, right? So my neighbor opposite our unit actually does all the ripping off of different audio and make into a compiled cassette where they just sell lah. Last time there's no such thing as copyright.
They never get caught. Nobody gets
No,
caught.
because right now in the late 80s or early 90s, then the idea of copyright came into picture more around that time. So I studied in Geylang in short. The convenience that why people want to be in Geylang then was that because it's where everyone gathers for food. Small working processing, you get them laundromats, hardware shops, wood supplies, normal builders' work supplies. Normal ones are not the heavy industry. So it's like a bit like a light industry kind of supplies.
Like workers.
Yes, because it supports then it's the blue collar industry.
Right.
Yeah, there's not so much of white collar industry, because at that point of time, if you were to be a white collar industry, that means you have to be of certain education background, right? In order to be doing the white collar, right?
Then maybe can you share what was life like growing up in the area? Maybe some of your experiences growing up in the area.
Things that I remember when I'm growing up in Geylang, I actually studied in Geylang English school. So it's like those colonial times school that came down. Then I don't know what happened. It became Geylang Primary School after that. So then during the school times, my school is like there's a big field in the middle. It's all chained up. Then we grew to know that it's actually that school that I used to be in is the Kempitai headquarters.
Oh.
It's like the secret service of the Japanese, where they do the torture camp. So outside my school, there's this bridge which they rebuilt now. They typically hang the prisoner's head there as a kind of warning, 杀警百 in the
Your
Japanese
morning
time.
view.
Yeah, but I don't get to see them. That's during World War II.
Yeah.
So my school has a lot of this kind of like ghost story. The cleaner that used to be there go out to tell you different stories. So what was memorable is as a kid we don't have high tech things. So we play 0 point and all those jumping aeroplane and all those shit.
Yes.
Okay, we don't
Recognize
have a lot
those
of fun. So, but it was a physical happiness. After school bell, the happiness would be going to the Seng Pao shop. Seng Pao, I don't know, that's how I remember it. It's like, you know, they put a plastic bag, long plastic bag, they put syrup water, then turn into ice tube. Then you suck off the ice tube.
Like a popsicle.
Yeah, it's like a popsicle, but
okay.
popsicle, it's more industrial. So there's this family, the Malay family there, that I think their husband worked in the school. If not, they can't get a unit there, right? So what happened is that they will open the main door, then they will have basket of keropok, seng pao, and also the curry puff that they handmade. So whatever money you didn't use in the canteen, you probably end up spending there. As I grew up, when I was doing construction and also in exhibition industry, I also realized that at the age where I was working like 20 plus 30, right? A lot of this founder of this contracting firm or subcontractor, they all have the same lineage back to one or two founders of the industries. Yeah, so I think that's how it goes. So in Geylang, it's like a very small meeting point where you get to meet a lot of people that you need for contracting works.
Right. So when you say that, like, I mean, like it was because you used to grow up in Geylang and was in like kind of close contact with all these like tradesmen, and then that kind of led you to go into like the built environment industry.
So I think building things is all what guys like to do. You know, they make things out of nothing. Because when I was young, I have a lot of toys that I put them apart and put them back together. I can't say that Geylang is my exposure, but I think I choose the built environment out of natural cost of selection.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, but I guess it kind of led you back to like Geylang to find all these like.
Oh yeah, I led me back to Geylang because my second employer in Singapore actually is at Kallang. So they're quite a prominent exhibition builder. What I did was I was doing taking off.
Taking off?
Taking off means like what QS do, right? You measure all the quantity, the areas, for putting a price on. So I was freelancing doing some work for a friend of mine. I realized that after my first project, I have enough money to put a down payment for an office. Then also my friend also encouraged me. He said, Curve, I think I'm going to cross $500,000. So that time I was using free in his office. So I was thinking, is he trying to hit me to be out of the office or what? So then he happened to tell me, oh yeah, my neighbor is also selling the unit. Would you like to take a look? So this thing compounded to the point that I think he's hinting me to get out of the office and hey, there's an office for you to buy. I think you can afford it, kind of something like that. So that's why I picked an office in Geylang. Of course, it became quite a good decision in the end. One of my friend in poly was a valuer, so he appeared on one of the news clip that night. Then I messaged him and say, hey, what do you think about Geylang properties back in like 20 plus years ago? So he said, well, there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of empty land. So if there's empty land, if you were to buy at current valuation, when things get developed, your valuation get increased.
Right. Are you still there at the same unit now?
Yeah, I'm still in the same unit now.
Right. Wow. So how many years has it been in total like that?
I think I'm in that unit for the past 15 to 16 years. But I mean the building for the past 17 to 18 years.
Wow. It's a pretty long time.
Yeah, I'm very old already.
Okay, if I have to ask you like visually, like the difference between like Geylang in the past, I mean since you've been there for a very long time, right? I mean Geylang in the past versus like Geylang now, like what are the differences?
You're talking about the outlook or the content of Geylang?
I mean the content of Geylang, I mean you've seen it change, right, over the last like 18, 20 years.
Geylang do attract most people more on a working background, like a worker background, blue collar background.
Bit more blue collar, yeah.
Yeah, in the morning, if you be at Geylang for breakfast at 7:30. Right? You see some retirees. You see a lot of blue collar that stay in those kind of
Like a hostel kind of situation.
dorms, you know. So those some of these old people who owns the houses or the pre-war house, right? They don't upgrade them. They don't want to sell them. They are very happy to collect rent, short of being a slum, but it's just barely make it as a well-maintained building. I mean, there's no physical leak. You may not get the best paint job. You may not get the best electrical being leak concealed and all those things. It's all exposed. The cheapest way of putting things together. You get a lot of people still staying there. Like
But
I think
mostly elderly and like the
elderly and a lot of blue collar worker in the 40s still stay there. You have a bit of that kind of mix in Geylang. I see a lot of those old people. Even last night when I was having dinner, this old very Indian man. Every time morning I see him there in the Geylang 8+ if I reach office, having breakfast there. Then yesterday night I see him having dinner there. So I guess he stays there.
yeah.
And he has a company. I know for sure he has a company. He represents a lot of people that I see in Geylang, the old days. Like 我在那边做工，我在那边住。
Convenient. It's more convenient, I guess. Like back then, like
Efficient.
Yeah.
Efficient. This past 10 years, I see a lot developing within the lorong, which is not under the conservation house. Along all the lorongs, like lorong 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, all those lanes.
And nowadays, what kind of like businesses?
Geylang
are there?
nowadays, if you realize, mostly it's more F&B and service-driven industry. There's still some old material stockies and also there's some old hardware shop. I don't know which one comes through. Whether it's the hardware shop there because there's a lot of blue-collar workers, or is it because there's a lot of blue-collar worker, the hardware shop is there?
Like chicken or egg?
I don't know which one comes first, but I tend to take it that because the environment has a lot of transit workers, they're not Singaporeans. And you have a lot of short-term stay workers also. Because of the makeup of Geylang, there's still some of these pockets of small little hardware shop around. Other than hardware shop, most of the shop there are not doing production-based things anymore. Stockies.
Okay.
Like aircons, paper, prayer needs for the Chinese, those xiang. You get a lot of like massage parlors, hair salons, and a lot of F&Bs. Yeah, it's more service driven now. You will start to see the past 10 years, the proportion of local flavor F&Bs is slowly overtaken by China-based kind of F&B. China-based meaning Mala, Dongbei, Chuan. So I think Singapore being a multi-mix society or multi-racial. I say multi-mix is because right now, even in China, it's different category of Chinese from different places, different culture backgrounds.
Yeah.
So we are like a hot pot with everything inside.
Like rojak.
Yeah, Geylang is literally rojak. Right? You have very nice designer bars there, which I think you are involved in the project next to it. Then along the way, you have very sleazy bars. Then you have KTV bars. You have the Thai disco kind of bars. Then when I was army, there's this sing-along kind of KTV that you get
Sing-along
hostess.
KTV.
Yeah, you get hostess that come in and ask you if you want someone to accompany you to sing.
Okay.
All the legitimate.
Right. So I guess it's like consistent from the past. It's always been like very blue collar worker.
Yeah, but it's just that it evolved into this manner.
In terms of like the kind of offerings that they have is different, but still really a hub for like the blue collar workers.
Correct. Then you have some old temples, malls. So everywhere in Asia you notice, right, the sleaziest or the so-called like the neighbourhood, right, this kind of settings, right, you always have the most religious place there and the brothel
You
and
gotta
the
ask
KTV
for
there.
forgiveness like after that.
Somehow it just happened to be like this. It's a lot of this kind of mix. I don't know why, but somehow even if you go Malaysia, Thailand, you see the same kind of components coming together.
Any of these like religious buildings that are a bit more famous or kind of stand out to you?
I don't patronize them, but I do know that on big occasions, some of these big meditation center is packed.
Yeah, this one is just personal agenda because I also want to go and keep and like and check out some of the spaces.
No problem.
Yeah.
So like I say, right, Geylang is a mixed bag of people. The way it's built, it's just like Blair Road, your office here, right? You have the front side, the glorious side. Then you have the back alley, right? So when I was young and even after university, when I came back, Geylang is still Geylang. There isn't much like a modern construction. When I say modern construction, means like now most of construction is all flat, right?
Yeah.
There's not much detailing. There's not much craftsmanship to doing things kind of thing. Whereas old Geylang, those old shop houses, you know that some of the things has to be done manually, cannot be done through machines like cornices and those big frames and wood carvings and those plaster that is carved some monster out, some plasters.
Yeah, I mean it's nice though. I've seen some of these and I think it's quite nice.
Yeah, so traditionally you even have signage made out of mosaics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and plaster. So I think the physical environment of Geylang, I think it's under conservation now. Some houses, it limits a lot of development. It's actually after buying my own unit, then I start to realize that my unit, while there is some potential to up, but there is no potential to build high rise because it's bundled together with
All the
conservation.
other- yeah.
Conservation house. Because government decision is to protect those old heritage buildings, right? So it actually limits the potential that it can be generated out from it.
It's like a structural issue lah, I guess. Like there's MRT somewhat near the area, but you kind of need to walk a distance in order to get to all these stores. And then because it's like the nature of Geylang is like one long street and then lots of small alleys,
We call
you
them the
cannot find
wukong lah.
Wukong.
Yeah, you know the
centipede.
centipede with a lot of legs.
Okay, yeah,
You
yeah.
look from the map, it's a bit like that.
Yeah, you look from on top lah.
Yeah.
I think we met one tour guide that does like tours in Geylang. Then he was telling us the story of like the chicken and the centipede. Okay.
So right now, if you stand at Geylang Lorong 40 something, if you look through the whole Geylang all the way to Kallang, you start to see these three prominent white condo, right? It's like South Xiangyang. Really,
Okay, we're going to
because you have a perspective view, right? You get the long view of the road.
yeah.
And then you can see three white buildings there. I mean, feng shui and visually, the impact is like as such.
Wait, but is that bad feng shui though? Like
I
is
can't
it
comment feng shui, not feng shui master, but it just appear like
look
that.
weird Okay.
Appear like that. I don't know, Geylang gives people a lot of mixed bag of feelings.
Right.
It's a bit different from like in Hong Kong. Naturally, if you go Hong Kong, you know that taking car, even if you can afford, is the least efficient. But Singapore has this best combination of two, and Geylang is a bit caught in between these two factors coming together.
You cannot cater to either lah.
You imagine, right, Singapore got 5.5 million population, right? But our car population is close to 800 over 1,000. Technically speaking, that means 1 out of 4 people, which is one small family nucleus, tend to have one car.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, Geylang can't support so much car.
Yeah. It's no parking space lah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a business opportunity. Build multi-story car park in Geylang.
Most of the open space, most of the open space car park in Singapore, in Geylang at least, is always full.
Yeah.
Unless you go on odd hours, then 不要抢. But most of the normal times, it's full.
Like even if I go at like 12 a.m, it's like still always full.
So the peak hours for Geylang will be lunchtime. Breakfast, not really. Dinner time is always full for sure. If you say midnight, depends. If it's holiday season, likely full.
So sometimes I just randomly go for like supper. There's this like chili ban mian that I like to eat. Yeah, but you can never find parking no matter what. But it's because, I guess because it's like middle of like a smaller alleyway lah. But then you stretch, you go and like search through all the different like nearby alleys also.
Very discouraging.
Yeah, you cannot find parking.
Very anticlimax. Like, you're so happy to go and eat something of your favorite comfort food. Then
Yeah,
no
but
parking.
cannot. Yeah, you have to go like go somewhere else instead.
So I think 新加坡人不大喜欢走路 when you have a convenience of a car. If you ask a patron, right, would you want to take a train to Geylang? It's only 10 minutes, 15 minutes walk to the place that you want to go and eat. I'd rather go to a shopping mall.
No, the thing is like 15 minutes, right, in like nice weather is okay. 15 minutes in like Singapore's weather is not okay. It's humid and then it's hot. So by the time you get there, no matter what, you're definitely sweating and you're sticky. And then the air, like there's no aircon when you get to the coffee shop also. So you're just gonna be in that state for a while.
And the most discouraging is having a nice meal. You have to walk back to your public transport.
Yeah, so it's 30 minutes total actually. It's not 15.
And you only spend 30 minutes to consume your lunch.
Yeah, so it's a bit 不划算, you know.
Not efficient.
Yeah, not efficient. Like in the area, there's no other like shops that you can like 随便 just like kind of.
It's a bit more single destination.
Yeah.
Rather than you go to your destination, then you have a lot of other offerings.
Yeah. But do you think like in future then like there's kind of like no chance of Geylang transitioning into more of like, I wouldn't say like a shopping mall lah, but having more like maybe like retail and like kind of how to say like activity based like services there?
Okay, I think the government is doing something about it. If I'm not wrong, in government master plan in 2030, it's going to become a 步行街. A bit like pedestrians. But I think even when that happens, it's very difficult because it doesn't have enough parking space. If the current trend of Singapore is still unchanged, I think it's quite difficult. I mean, you can have very nice 步行街, very comfort, but I think it's not in Singapore culture to walk like 2 kilometers just to enjoy a 步行街, 1 kilometer. I think it's very different.
Or what if like they do like, I don't know, like shuttle buses around the stretch?
I mean, if you can accept it, then people will accept it. I think whatever the mix is very dependent on the government policies. Like you're going to have a row of conserved houses. While they say the Geylang airport height control is done, but then it looks also very funny, right? From an architect point of view, 前面都是旧的 shop houses, then 你后面不可能起20楼的房子。
You have more joysticks,
I think there's a
different
height,
angle.
while the airport is gone, like eventually it will be gone. I think there's still certain height that you can't pass.
Or like legally with.
I think so. The plot ratio also can't support 那种 height.
Right.
The plot in Geylang, all the plots are very small. They're not a big piece of land.
Unless someone just, I guess, buys over everything in the area, which is unlikely.
So for the next 20 years, I don't see a drastic shift. It will be a very slow morph. I even use the word morphing. I don't even want to say shift. Yeah. If you want to get to that kind, like what you have in mind, if I'm not wrong, I don't think for the next 5 years is feasible. So youngster gathering mostly for two functions, right? A nice place to eat and talk, and when they can engage in some activity together, whether it's gaming or movies or obviously shopping is off the list for me. If you say gaming center, good chance. I see very successful insurance agency. They did it very creatively. They make it like a coffee shop, old Hainanese coffee shop style, where they meet clients there for insurance and investment related matters, and then they have a proper office on top. So people go there more for the lifestyle kind of needs, and it's still service based. So coming back to your question, I think it's quite a huge challenge unless government policy change. Because government policy change, then I think business operators will see more upside for going in.
In that case, what do you think in the near future? Or rather, like, how do you think the future of Geylang will kind of look like? There's been like a sudden change, right, over the last like 20 years that you've been in Geylang in terms of like the service and like offerings and like the businesses that kind of exist within the space. But in the next maybe like 10 years, in the next 20 years, how do you see that continuing to change?
I may use this narrative from my perspective. You know how a lot of shopping malls have little push carts, right? You can see that the push carts don't stay there for very long. It's a low entry barrier to doing a small businesses. So similarly in Geylang, a lot of people will continue to try their luck or try to start a small businesses there. I think it takes a time to filter out those successful ones. Just like if you go to an old HDB neighbourhood, right? You realize that most of the hawker food, everything is tip-top. That's because they have like 30 years of filtering the weak ones out. So I foresee Geylang will continue in that way, where the weak one will get filtered out gradually. We haven't reached a point where it becomes a bit more matured like Holland V or C Club. But because Geylang is much bigger than these places that I mentioned, so I think that filtering process will take a while.
Thanks, Kev, for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. As you've heard, Geylang is evolving at its own unique pace, and it's not without its own challenges. Any change will likely require strong community efforts, time, and some degree of regulatory support. However, together with our placemaking partners, Maya Collective, we are making small changes to slowly but surely transform Geylang into a neighbourhood that will attract many Singaporeans and residents from all walks of life.